And welcome to Houston Newsmakers Extra. You know, if you've been watching the program, we've been talking with David Finn, just a wealth of knowledge about what we should do about security and cybersecurity and internet and all that kind of stuff. One of the things I noticed, I was reading about some of the advice that you've given, is that we go on a rental car and we get our phone on we hook it up, and oftentimes we just leave it. Can that be used for the next person, or is that something, most of the time it's just phone numbers, though, right?
Absolutely, or contacts. If you link contacts, it could be emails and physical addresses and the full contact text numbers. And yes, unless you purge that data from that rental car, and usually it's a very simple reset thing, that data is still stored in the vehicle and is available to people on the other end of that vehicle too, because all that communication is going through the cloud at some point. So it's available in the car, and if someone starts transmitting from the car, and remember, if the car can get to the cloud can get to the car.
Wow. So is it true that everything we put internet, if we're sending, that it's never erased, that it's always available somewhere?
It is almost impossible to eliminate all of it. That is correct, because people don't purge data, people don't clean up data, and the cost of storage is so cheap, people just keep adding. And the cloud vendors have they're looking at underwater data, under ocean data centers to keep it cooler because of the size of the storage and the compute capacity.
We talked on the program about being able to change passwords, or the multi authenticating kind of process. It's not easy to remember password changes. Is there a simple solution to doing that? Because everybody says, okay, you got to change your password, and you got all these different devices, you got to change the What's the best way to do that?
Well, the best way is to use multi-factor, and that you can reduce the length and the number of changes on your password if you're using multi-factor to start with. But the trick is to really use a phrase or something that you can remember. Some people have gone to random number generators. The other thing you can do is use a password vault or a password safe, and that also encourages you to have a different password for each account instead of reusing your password, which is probably one of the most dangerous things people do, is reuse passwords. So use a phrase that includes number, like click to Houston. You could use that. I'm not advising that now.
Now everybody's going to use it now, so.
That it's been out there, but a phrase that you can remember with letters and numbers, and then a password vault if you do have a lot of accounts, want to use different ones and keep them safe.
Because you've done this for 30 years or so, what keeps you up at night right now about where we are in terms of our security in this country, cyber-wise?
I think it's the hyper-connectivity, and COVID drove a lot more of that. We didn't go to our office where a corporate security team was protecting our devices. We sent people home with their own devices. Sometimes we sent them home with corporate devices, but they let the kids play on them. So everything is hyper-connected now. And then, of course, the cell phones. And my cell phone today has the compute power that my desktop computer had 12 years ago. And so we think of them as phones, but we hardly ever use them as phones. They're really computers, and they're connected to the internet, and we connect other devices to those phones. So people can change the temperature in your house, people can start your car, all kinds of things on your phone, and there's a lot of data on there. So we need to, the most concerning thing to me is we don't think about the value of our data, and we don't think of how it can be used, how to protect it. I was involved at a breach, a large healthcare breach, about 10 years ago, and I got called in not because I'm a security analyst, but they asked me what people could do with the kind of health data they got. And they were looking at a large healthcare system near a military training base, and they had pulled down all the vaccine information. Well, even I, who've been in healthcare, is going, well, what would you do with the shot records? And some of these security guys who walk a very narrow line between good and bad said, well, it's a training base. So if we see where the family is getting shots to go to, we know where the military troops are going to be shipped to next. And a bad guy can use that. So things we don't even think about.
Well, you've given us a lot to think about. I appreciate the opportunity. The rest of the conversations on the Houston Newsmakers program for this week. David Finn, thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Share this with everybody you know.